Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this episode, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland and Disneyland history with mementos, snapshots, and postcards sent from Disneyland from 1955 to the present. Today I'm starting off by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join and receive mail from my desk or from my Disneyland trips. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the e-ticket patrons Tania, Eric Daniels, Joe Gamble, Scott Booker, Monica Seitz Vega, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, Scott Cagle, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Grace Coate, Brian Crawford, Ben and Noel Bruning, Patty Wolin, Angela Reynolds, and Aaron Moran. B-ticket patrons Jeff and Paige Orton, and Joshua, and Inexorable Tosh Bell. And the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Maggie and Henry Byers, the Disney Rewind podcast, Angel DeBlock, and the All Aboard podcast. You can also sign up for my new newsletter for a chance to get some postcards delivered by the USPS to your mailbox. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has Goofy standing in front of the castle and leaning against the top of a lamppost. Above the castle it reads, Goofy, and below it reads, About Disneyland. On the back it reads, Goofy in Disneyland. Where to start his tour of Disneyland's many adventures is a problem confronting Goofy as he pauses in front of Sleeping Beauty Castle. It's postmarked August 7th, 1969, with an Anaheim cancel and a 5-cent blue George Washington postage stamp, Scott number 1283. I assume they visited the park on Wednesday, August 6, 1969, when park hours were from 8 a.m. to midnight. The weather was a high of 87 and a low of 64. It's addressed to Don Massey of Bakersfield, California. It reads, Hi Donnie, made it down okay. Sure is lots of people. It is already hot. See you. Love, Dearie. I got a lot of Bakersfield-related mail in my mailbox this week. The 2 postcards sent from Disneyland are from a friend on Instagram, who sent them along from a stash of unused and used greeting cards. Plus, later in the episode, I have an incoming postcard from St. Paul, Minnesota, but from a person from Bakersfield. Looking through my maps, I have a copy of the summer of 1969 Disneyland map. The neat thing about this map is that the original owners wrote everything they did with either check marks, stars, or dots on the map. I thought it would be fun to look at what this group did in and outside of the park. Starting off with the table of contents, the family used each line to write the other things they did while in LA, listing Knott's Berry Farm, Marineland, Universal Studios, Beverly Hills, Hollywood, Palm Springs, and wrote down the address and phone number for Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor in Woodland Hills, California. Looking at a current map of where the Farrell's Parlor used to be, it's closed and been replaced with Burger King and a Whole Foods. Continuing on in the map, there are pages for the ABCs of Disneyland ticket books. This includes a section for each ticket, and a small image and short description of each attraction for that ticket. On the first page, which includes A tickets, they wrote that they went down 1 Main Street at first, probably riding one of the Main Street vehicles or a horse-drawn streetcar. For the B ticket, they checked off Casey Jr.'s Circus Train and the Swiss Family Treehouse. For the C ticket, they checked off the Mike Fink Keelboats, Peter Pan's Flight, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and they have a star next to the Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. The D ticket section, they checked off the Santa Fe and Disneyland Railroad, the Mine Train Ride, Storybookland Canal Boats, McDonnell Douglas Flight to the Moon, and they scratched out a check mark and wrote Forget the Goodyear People Mover. Finally, for the E-ticket attractions, they penned check mark next to Jungle Cruise, put a star next to the Enchanted Tiki Room, the Submarine Voyage, It's a Small World, and wrote a star and circle next to the Matterhorn bobsleds and the Pirates of the Caribbean. Based on all of these check marks and stars, I assume they purchased the deluxe 15-ticket book and bought 1 extra e-ticket, as they rode 16 attractions, and it lines up with the deluxe book with 1A, 2B, C3, 4D, and 5 e-tickets. The 15-attraction ticket book would have been around $5.75 based on information from an old ticket book in my collection. Great news, Enfield Post is back up on Etsy. Grabbing some vintage stamps is a great way to plus your mail, whether you're trying to match the color of your postcard or envelope, or adding a themed stamp to the back of your mail. be sure to check out Enfield Post. You can head over to enfieldpost.com and explore all the different vintage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and enfieldpost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has the big bad wolf and the three little pigs standing in front of It's a Small World. Above them reads, Three Little Pigs and Friend, and at the bottom it reads, Disneyland. It's postmarked August 7th, 1969, with an Anaheim cancel and a 5-cent blue George Washington postage stamp, Scott number 1283. I assume they visit the park on Wednesday, August 6, 1969, when park hours were from 8 a.m. to midnight. The weather was a high of 87 and a low of 64. It's addressed to Dennis Massey of Bakersfield, California. It reads, Hi Dennis, I hope you're being a good dog. Hi to Nono and Nona. See you. Love, Mommy. Looking deeper into the summer 1969 park map, the family also checked off the free exhibits they visited. The pages following the centerfold map break down the attractions, food, shops, services, and free exhibits land by land. In Tomorrowland, they circled and put a star next to 3 of the free exhibits: the Bell Telephone Circle, General Electric, Carousel of Progress, and Monsanto's Adventure Through Inner Space. Then, in the Frontierland section, they circled the Pepsi-Cola Golden Horseshoe and circled and put a star next to the Pepsi-Cola Golden Horseshoe Review. In the last pages of the map are the free exhibits and the entertainment calendar. They place stars next to the Bell Systems America the Beautiful and General Electric Carousel of Progress, and they wrote that they picked up a postcard at INA's Carefree Corner. In the entertainment section, they noted, the Pepsi-Cola Golden Horseshoe Review is a must, with the word must underlined. Finally, there's a circle and a star around the Fantasy in the Sky fireworks show, which performed nightly at 9 p.m. This incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is an online craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Be sure to check out Monday's ATD, which is usually hosted by paper artist Russ Romano. I see many amazing art projects, learned about awesome postmarks, postage stamp history, and a lot more on different episodes. It's great to stop in for an hour to watch someone craft or design something unique. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming card has a stylized illustration of Walt Disney World's People Mover with some mid-century modern flourishes, and it reads, See Tomorrowland by People Mover. On both sides of the People Mover, there are also some geometric trees. It's postmarked February 6, 2024, with a St. Paul, Minnesota cancel and a Winter Barn Forever postcard postage stamp, Scott number 5551. It reads, 2/6/24, Dear Clocky, I grew up in Bakersfield in the 1950s and 1960s. We had family in LA, and our biggest treat was to go down and stay with them and go to Disneyland. I still remember Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and being scared by the wicked stepmother in the Snow White ride. Have an apple, dearie? Barbara. Thank you so much for this postcard, Barbara. It was perfect for this episode. This postcard I received through Postcrossing, and I contacted Barbara about using the card for the episode and received an amazing reply when asking about the People Mover postcard. The reply reads, Dear Clocky, I'm so glad you liked the card. I was distinctly meh about it, so I learned once again that it's a good thing that the world is full of a variety of postcards, since there are postcard lovers with a variety of interests. Of course you can use my Disneyland memory however you like. And I will add another, which was too long to fit on the card. In those ancient days, you bought a book of flimsy paper tickets when you went in, for the different rides and activities. And the tickets were different colors, depending on the cost of the different activities. And at the end of the day, you were always left with several tickets of the 2 cheapest things, though I can't remember what they were, and those leftover ticket books accumulated at my aunt's house since nobody wanted them, but no one would throw them away. As for where the card came from, I think it came from a vendor called the Postcard Mixer, who collects cards from obscure regional sources and sends out assortments to her clients. I've emailed her to ask if she remembers, and I will let you know. If it didn't come from her, then it was from one of the many friends who've used me as a postcard dumping ground when they're cleaning house. And finding the source of those is hopeless. Cheers, Barbara. And then I received a follow-up email from Barbara saying, Dear Clocky, The postcard mixer person says she didn't send it to me, but found one on Redbubble that's a little like it. That's all I know, Barbara. This got me going down a rabbit hole of Redbubble Disneyland postcards. I might need to buy a few of those to see the quality, but some of the designs are amazing. I also love the story about the leftover A and B tickets, and a tie-in to the map on this episode, although they had 0 tickets left over in their ticket book. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would be helpful to share your favorite episode to a friend or on social media. There are over 200 to choose from. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment on whatever podcast platform you use. If you would like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sentfromdisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Sent from Disneyland, or on Twitter at Sent from Disney. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent from Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to its host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast.